Hello and welcome to The Long Play, where we listen to some of the world's greatest albums. It's a little bit like a book club, but there's not a book in sight. Hello, Paul Smith!
Hey, Tom Figgins. Great to see you. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks, mate. I love this sort of like faux, haven't seen you in ages sort of thing that we like to do when we're recording episodes back to back.
Yeah. I like to pretend I haven't seen you in ages.
But unfortunately you have. Here we are. We're at Paul's recording the next episode where we're going to be talking about Tapestry, following on from last month's episode where we talked about Lemonade.
Yeah.
Sorry, we were a little bit slow in our recording last month, so it made more sense to record everything together. So here we are, and we're talking about another absolute giant of the music industry.
Oh. Carole King.
Carole King.
118 Billboard Hot 100 hits that she wrote or co-wrote.
That's staggering.
And 60, I think it was 65 UK Top 40. I mean, it's unbelievable.
It's mental.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's all different songs. It's not like the same song re-entering or something
exactly.
like that.
Exactly. I mean, it's absolutely staggering. What a talent.
Yes.
Apparently aged like 12 or 13, she walked into a record company and said, can somebody listen to my songs?
Wow.
And then, she got signed and started writing songs. And, she wrote, Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow? And that was the first number one hit for black female group in the US, the Shirelles.
Was it the Shirelles?
Yeah. And obviously, it makes an appearance on this album. But yeah, she is an incredibly talented person.
Yes.
Yeah.
One
of the greatest songwriters of all time.
Yeah, I mean, as big a throwdown as that is, I don't think it's. It's not a big throwdown.
No, no.
It's her. I mean, her body of work speaks for itself, and this album is, I mean, nothing short of a masterpiece. It was just a joy.
Yeah, yeah.
The opening of "I Feel the Earth Move" is just, it's such a, not only just an incredible song, but the piano playing. It's not simple. It's not simple stuff.
No, although simply produced in terms of what they did with the album is not lots, but what she does is.
But
amazing.
That's what they say, isn't it? If people say guitars a lot these days because a lot of people, probably a lot of songwriters play guitar more than they play the piano.
Yeah.
But they say as long as you can play it on a guitar and a voice and nothing else, which, if you can play it on a piano and a voice and nothing else, and it can stand up as a song, then it's good.
Yes.
And, there's no bells and whistles. There's no air horns.
No. Well, actually, that just made me think, of Taylor Swift. We did a Taylor Swift episode a good few months back now.
It'll be a year ago.
But one of the things that I was really impressed with was when she did Tiny Desk. She turned up just with a guitar and played her songs, and they stood up, and that kind of is exactly what you said. And I think Carole King kind of set a blueprint for female artists in lots of ways. In fact, she was one of the first, if not the first, singer-songwriter. Before then, there'd just been folk artists. They were, likes of Dylan and everybody else were singer-songwriters, but they weren't categorized as such. And she was the first one to be one of the first ones to be categorized and create this kind of genre of singer-songwriter. Lots of other artists, male and female, have kind of come along, but I do feel like there's a influence that stretches all the way to Taylor Swift from this album.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, and of course she wrote, as we said, lots and lots of tracks, and some of which she kind of reclaimed on this album, and You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman. There's a great story actually around that. So I posted, again, in the mid-month missive,
sign up if you haven't already.
Absolutely, the longplaypod.substack.com. Aretha Franklin singing that song.
I watched this last night, and I think I just sat there with my mouth open the whole time. I was like, wow.
And she was how old? 73 or something, Aretha, banging that song out.
But as well, her piano playing at the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why I'm surprised. Like, she's an absolute giant.
Yeah.
But
I think I said in the mid-month missive, possibly one of our greatest singers singing a song written by possibly one of our greatest songwriters, but I could have removed the possiblies.
Do you want to have another go at that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah, so if you haven't watched that, do go on and watch. And as well, how much Carole King is absolutely loving it in the audience as well. Like,
yes,
it's not. It doesn't feel like she's precious with her art or her talent.
No,
it feels like
it's very giving.
Yes, it feels like it's for all.
Yeah. So there's an interesting, a funny story relating to the writing of that song.
Right.
Her and I think what was her ex-husband called? David Goffin. They co-wrote a lot of songs together when they were in her early career, and they were walking down the street, and the head of the record company had been listening to something about a natural man,
right?
And as they were walking down the street, he wound down the window of his car and he said, "Write me something about a natural woman." Right. And that's what they did.
Wow.
And they produced that song just because the record executive demanded it on the spot.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, I feel like this is just going to be a list of throwdowns, but maybe one of the greatest songs of all time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, in that video, I love it when she takes her coat off at the end and she's just like, just giving it the beans.
Yeah.
It's so good. There's just so much emotion. There's so much, and you have to watch it to really, I don't think I can really sort of.
Yeah, it brought tears to my eyes. It genuinely did. Yeah, it was amazing. Yes. So tell me what your thoughts were listening. I'm really interested, Tom, you're a songwriter, how you kind of thought about the songwriting craft that goes in that was in Tapestry and what that felt like to you.
I think the thing which really struck me when I was listening to it on like one of my first listens is how much of a master she is at moving between sections.
Mm-hmm.
She does it with such ease, and such. I feel like as a songwriter myself, I'm slightly always I love a change in section. I love being able to either explain something or do something different with an idea that brings new color and new light to an idea that you're writing something about. And she has such a wonderful way of moving into new sections and giving things new life that are all what feel like quite left field ideas, but just feel so part of
this flow. Flow of the song.
I think flow's a really good point. Like she's so breezy in her delivery.
It's like effortless almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I nearly wrote that in my notes, but some of the content isn't particularly breezy, and some of it is, I wouldn't say that it's, dealing with some of the content like we had last month, but maybe it's just the delivery as well. It just makes it feel also effortless and approachable. And yeah, I mean, she's really put the songs and the melody front and center.
Yeah.
I mean, she's a master.
Mm-hmm.
She's a master. And the statistics speak for themselves.
Yes. Yeah. Not just in terms of her songwriting, but in terms of how big this album was. And
you don't need me to convince you. Go look at Wikipedia.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this was a huge album, and again, I said in the mid-month missive that it was actually Mike Skinner of The Streets being interviewed, who said that it was one of his favorite albums, and I just kind of thought, I better sit up and take notice, because there's such a kind of disconnect between this kind of folky singer-songwriter, early 70s piano playing songwriter and something like The Streets. That there must be, it's not an obvious choice it's not an obvious choice, and therefore there must be something to it, and that's what kind of prompted me to listen to it a bit more. And in the mid-month missive again, there is a kind of on the 50th anniversary, I think it was, The Guardian had an article which just quoted so many different artists who were influenced by this. You know, it's such a influential album and such a great album.
Yeah. And the people that were knocking around when the record was being made, I mean, it's well documented how her and James Taylor's working relationship was, James Taylor's playing on this record.
Yes. Joni Mitchell's backing vocals on this record.
And, these are other greats of the time. And I can only really sort of imagine how much they were enjoying, being in each other's presence. And it must have been...
Well, James Taylor was recording in the same recording studio, and they recorded the same song.
Yeah.
You've Got a Friend. They both recorded it around the same time. In fact,
James Taylor released his first.
Yeah. And they both won a Grammy for it.
Yeah. So he won it for Best Male Vocal Performance, I think, and she won it for Best Song.
Yeah.
Absolutely mega.
Yeah.
So cool. So cool. I mean, it was... Yeah, what a time! What a time! And that brings me on to what happened in 1971.
What a segue! Well done, Tom.
But we've talked about this year before.
Do you remember? Yeah. What did we have from 71? Did we?
Well, I will put you out to your misery.
Wasn't Blood on the Tracks 72? Was it recorded 70 and 71? Or I don't know. Go on, put me out of my misery.
So I'll tell you some of the albums which came out in 1971. And actually, I think a lot of parallels with... I think if James Acaster went and listened to the albums of 1971, I think he'd be hard fought between 2016 and 1971.
Yeah.
What's Going On by Marvin Gaye, another album that we had in this month's poll.
I mean, that is coming to the long play at some point in the future.
T-Rex's Electric Warrior.
Oh, nice.
Blue by Joni Mitchell.
Yeah.
Sticky Fingers by the Stones. Who's Next by The Who. Imagine by John Lennon. And Led Zeppelin 4.
Led Zeppelin 4.
And that's the music which came out in 1971.
Brilliant. There's a reasonable amount, you've got The Who there, you've got T-Rex, you've got Led Zeppelin. This stands apart, doesn't it? It's really intimate. It's a kind of very different feel to what was the kind of big mainstream rock hits of the time.
Yeah. It feels very much like you're sitting in her living room and she's playing you these songs.
Yeah, my notes say it's kind of homemade almost, and that's
and not necessarily
because of the
homemade
warmth and intimacy.
That's exactly it. It doesn't feel like she's, again, this is this kind of generous giving thing that we were talking about before. At no point does it feel like she's singing out across the airwaves. Like you get quite a lot of that from singers or artists who there's a sense of performance where they feel like they're I mean, totally opposite end of the spectrum, but you listen to any of like sort of like these stadium tracks, like you think about things like Sex on Fire by the Kings of Leon, and it feels like he's singing out across not a room, but
he's singing to you, you're not invited in.
And this very much feels like she's invited you in, and it's a very personal sort of experience. But it's, I think that's something which across the whole album is probably quite a unique thing, especially to be able to capture in that way.
Yeah. Well, I think to talk about the cover art, that kind of just sitting on your on the windowsill with a cat, barefoot. It kind of speaks to that feeling, doesn't it? It's a great cover to kind of welcome you in and say, "This is
it's very unpretentious."
Exactly. Yeah.
It's very unshowy. Mm-hmm. It's just like these are songs that I think tell a story that I want you to hear.
Yeah.
And in this, I'm really on an idea of parallels at the moment, which I think it's a really interesting listening to two female greats of the industry of two very different times, and looking at the production of and around Beyonce and what a sort of juggernaut of output and media
ideas and multimedia
and then looking at the simplicity.
Yes.
And I'm not saying either one is better.
No, because they both work in
work for the time.
Yeah.
But I think it's marvelous that they can both be so separate and feel like they're hitting, the absolute top of what people have been able to do.
Yeah, exactly. What were your favourite tracks from this album, Tom?
Do you know, Tapestry really took me by surprise.
Uh-huh.
I found myself very emotional listening to that track.
Yeah.
It had a tiny bit of the folky thing, and actually sort of maybe a tiny bit English folk in its sort of way. The long form story sort of feel.
Yeah.
And when she's talking about this coat of many colours and stuff, it felt like I had quite a sort of Arthurian, a little bit like Stairway to Heaven and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Maybe that was a thing at the time, I'm not sure, but it had an air of something that was slightly unattainable or ethereal. But yeah, that was not a track or at least not a track I remember hearing before. And I found myself really enjoying that. And I mean, just pick one. Every single one is phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's too late. Oh,
yes.
It's just.
It's Too Late was kind of right at the top of my list. Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
It's so good, and the melody. I mean, she is the best one. Actually, Smackwater Jack was another one which I really wasn't expecting to enjoy, and actually really did enjoy.
Right.
In fact, it was almost like I enjoyed the ones that I'm naming are the ones which I didn't know, which I'm just like, oh, another great one.
I think if I've got any criticism of the album, and they're very thin and very kind of far apart,
go on, try it.
Well, I think that the songs feel a little bit one note, or like samey, if you like.
I mean, by contrast to Lemonade, we're talking about.
Yeah, true, and maybe that's kind of a more modern sensibility on it as well in some regard. And so when you get snapped out of it with Tapestry, maybe to some extent, Smackwater Jack, they kind of they add a little bit of kind of light and shade to an album that feels a little bit samey. And I do feel like almost every track could be the theme song to a sitcom. And I know, for example, which one is it? Where You Lead was the theme song to Gilmore Girls.
Yes,
and
the lyrics were rewritten though, right?
They were slightly, to make it more mother-daughter than the kind of the.
She stopped wanting to perform this song.
Because it's not a particularly feminist,
pro-feminist sort of
thing to say, is it? That just wherever you're going, I'm following you because I'm just I'm here to follow. But I mean, I hate to. They're not criticisms really, because it is a fantastic album that is brilliantly written. I'm interested in your thoughts on the performance as well. I mean, she kind of famously said that she didn't think she was a particularly good singer, and then you see, she probably, it's not that long since she wrote A Natural Woman. And then she's probably in the studio when Aretha's banging it out, and you probably anybody stood there thinking, "Well, I'm not a very good singer."
Right.
But I really like her vocal performance on this.
I almost feel like if it was anything else, it wouldn't be the same.
Yeah.
It speaks entirely to that that homemade sort of feel that you were talking about. Like it's just very unshowy.
Yes.
It's very She's got some, really nice little movements that she does, but it's not like going, she's not trying to pull off any licks and stuff like that. You know, like it's all to serve the song and it's all to serve the story.
Yeah,
and all to enhance the emotion. And I think telling the story is exactly the part of it. You know, if she was singing more, you wouldn't get that story from the songs.
Yeah.
So it's very sat back. It's very personal.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really love her vocal performance, and I find that as I get older, I enjoy performances like this more and more.
Right.
You know, the song comes first.
Yeah, and because of that kind of connection it gives you, that intimacy, and exactly. You can always be impressed by those big showy performances, but she really tells the story. You're absolutely, that's exactly how I feel.
And you know, as a singer, I feel like I'm always trying to chase things like this. You know, you're always trying to be able to tell a story in the best way that you can.
Yeah.
And she does it with such grace and such ease.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, I wish I could to tell a story like she does. And she does it brilliantly.
Yeah, it's amazing to have such kind of songwriting talent and then come through with, this album, and kind of it feels like she's kind of reclaimed her artistry, really. She was giving all these songs away, and here they are. Just kind of kind of reclaiming it for herself and telling the story as she. I mean, will you love me tomorrow? It's so much slower than the Shirelles hit.
Yeah,
it's almost twice the length. But that's kind of her vision coming through for it, and it's not just like a pop hit. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So go on then. How many Paul Smiths does
it
get?
I am going to give it an 8. So last month I gave Lemonade a 9. I think I enjoyed that album more because of the kind of, perhaps there's a modern sensibility to it, whereas this just felt a bit more low key. But I absolutely loved it. An 8's, a really kind of high score. But what about yourself?
I gave it a 9.
Uh-huh.
And, I think I'd go as far as say I think it's one of my favourite albums of all time.
Great.
It's, I think it's such a benchmark for what I as a songwriter would ever dream to be able to achieve. I think it's got to be, it's did I say benchmark a second ago?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of another sort of way to phrase it, but it's exactly that. Like, if me as a person who's sat with an instrument and singing, if I could ever achieve something that was anywhere near as good as that, then I'd be happy.
Amazing. Make sure you follow along and come and join us on our Substack, which is thelongplaypod.substack.com, where we will be sending out our mid-month missive.
Indeed.
Where we look at each of the albums in a lot more detail. And if you want to go back into the archive, you can go and have a look on our Substack, and you can watch that video of Aretha Franklin singing A Natural Woman.
And if you thought, what else in 1971 was good? Our episode of Led Zeppelin 4 is a couple episodes ago.
It is a couple of episodes.
Go and find us on Spotify and or wherever you like to listen to your podcasts. And do us a favour, leave us a little cheeky review if you wouldn't mind.
That'd be great.
It does wonders for the internet finding us.
Fabulous. Well, we'll be back next month with There's a Riot Going On by Sly and the Family Stone.
Fantastic.
So we ran a poll. We lost this month, or in the month of June, both Sly Stone and Brian Wilson, two greats of American music, two greats of music, full stop. And so we had a poll between Pet Sounds and There's a Riot Going On. And Sly and the Family Stone won out. It was a very close thing, I have to say. It came down to a couple of votes. And in fact, we ran it on multiple platforms. It was a draw on one, and it was on my Instagram account, it was Pet Sounds that won, but on the Long Play Pod's Instagram account, there's a riot going on that won by a few more votes. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're listening to. I am really looking forward to it, and there's a lot of great stuff to talk about in Sly Stone's life. So tune in next month.
We'll see you there. But in the meantime,
no skipping, no shuffling.